Alrighty, welcome back. So this is a really exciting video for me because the first of the new metal has now been welded into the car. And it's a chance for us to finally see what these body mods guys can actually do. So first of all, Paul just kind of goes over the car, checking the door gaps and just sort of getting it ready before they start on the major stuff. And then he gets into cutting out these rear rusted quarters and then folding up and welding in the new ones.
So I've had a bit of a play around with the doors today. We're just going around looking for pre-existing damage, fixing some dents, just straightening them out a little bit without getting too carried away. And we're checking the panel fit before we do rust repairs. So we want to make sure that we're starting off with the best panel fit that we can. So things like that type of thing there. Whereas down there, it's quite flush. The way that the bottom of that door fits against the sill, like the door's way out in comparison with the sill. We've gone around it and we've made some adjustments. We've adjusted the doors, that's gone well. The shut lines are about 5mm. We always start at the rear door because rear quarter's obviously welded on, so that's non-adjustable. So we adjust the rear door to the rear quarter, and then we adjust the front door to the rear door, and then when the front goes on, we'll adjust the front guard to the front door. We looked earlier where we'd identified where this sill doesn't flow well into this door. It's a lot better now. That does actually flow really well into there. Something that we were aware of is it's had a little bit of damage in this left rear corner. I suspect it's had a bit of a bump on the right hand side as well. And we've got an overlapping boot there. So we will probably have to jack the rear quarters apart. We were in by 50mm. So we've actually jacked that out, straightened the corner of the boot lid. It's way better now. While we were adjusting the doors, we discovered that it had a whole lot of washers under the hinges. There's a whole lot of washers. I think there's 13 washers there. So now there's no washers in there. We've adjusted it within its factory adjustment and it fits in the hole really well. So there's our starting point. Doors fitting in holes, panel fit good, body square. So we can move forward with confidence knowing that we've got a good idea of what we're starting with. It's time to start mapping out a plan for putting some new metal in the Statesman, and we've decided that we're going to start on these rear quarters. I've already worked out it's going to get a full guard bottom in it, and you won't be able to see clearly on camera, but I've actually put a cut line through here, or put a mark where my cut line's going to be, so from here down gets cut off, thrown away, and it's going to get a full wheel arch all the way around there as well. So that's going to be done second. At the moment I'm going to focus on making and fitting a guard bottom. So I've made a couple of templates. That's sitting on my cut line where my weld's going to be. It's mated up well to my wheel arch. I've gone to a lot of trouble to make sure that it's flush off the bottom edge where my fold line has to be. I've made sure I've got that rear radius right, so that although it doesn't have the shape that the guard that it's got on it, dimensionally it's correct, so my measurements are nice and accurate. These hold-in rear quarters, the way that I prefer to make them, They come down, in, up, in, and then down. So they've got a bit going on internally, and it's one piece all the way up into where it welds up into the boot floor. And typically they're done in two pieces. They're done at an outer with a bottom, and when that's cut out, they make an inner, weld that in, and then weld the outer to the inner. But from factory, it's actually one piece of metal, and it's not really the end of the world to fold it up out of one piece, rather than having to weld the two pieces together. So this represents my inner. So same thing. I've made that fit my inner really well, and I can now use those two templates to mark out my patchwork and start fabricating a new guard bottom for this rear quarter. There's my new piece. I've made it out of one piece, as I mentioned. So there's not a lot more to it than that. There's other bits and pieces that will get added on, but that's the bulk of what we're putting in the bottom of this guard. So that's going to go into there. It's fitting my wheel arch mould really well, and it's fitting the car really well. As I mentioned earlier, it's got a lot of radius in the back of it in comparison with the front. It's only got a very slight amount of radius, so we've managed to make that work. So we're actually really close to taking some paint off, cutting this rear bottom off, and starting to take this one into place. I'll show you as best I can where we've got it to at the moment. So it's just tacked along that top edge. It's fitting the wheel arch nicely. If we can have a look up underneath, you can see how it wraps up on the inside. And the end of it still has to be pushed in and tacked up. but we're going to do that a little bit later on. And the inside, same thing. These bits pull in quite nicely and that'll weld up really well. And you can see where it meets the car as it would have from new. So that's a factory join line which we'll spot weld through from the inside. It'll get a drain hole in there. So that just gives you a bit of an idea of where we're headed with this car. And that one's in there as well. So next step will be to move on with the wheel arches. This gold rolled material that we're using in the bottom of these rear quarters is not my first choice. We would normally use this electric elf, which has got a light galvanized coating on it. That's what we typically use for these types of repairs because it's got that coating which stops it from rusting. We still have to prime it and use weld through primers and that sort of thing in all the necessary places, but it's a really good starting point rather than just using this raw uncoated cold rolled. And it's a little bit stronger, which I'm pretty sure is just part of the process of when they put the coating on, it almost heat treats it a little bit. And you notice when you're cutting and bending it, even though it's the same gauge or thickness as that, it's actually a little bit tougher. So it's a good product. But we're using, pretty much just for presentation reasons, we're using this cold rolled because we're not painting it. You know, we're going to coat it, but you're going to see it. And the electric galv, we've decided it's not going to present all that well for what we're trying to achieve with this car. So we're using this cold rolled, which means that we're going to have to be a bit fussier with painting it internally, weld through primers in between the double skinned areas, which you may have noticed we haven't done, but there is a plan to take care of all of that as part of the process. So even though it hasn't been done at the moment, we've got a plan for doing all that along the way. So this is as far as we're taking these guard bottoms now. They're just tacked in through that top edge. They still have to be internally welded, and there's quite a bit of finishing off to do, but we're actually going to leave them there for now, and the wheel arches is the next step. So we're going to move along with those as the next part of our plan.
So there you have it, brand new rear quarters folded up out of one piece. Pretty impressive stuff. Anyway, thanks heaps for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Paul does next, and I'll see you in the next one.